4,000.
Yeah, my name is Jasmine Caldata Francis Vietnam, and since 1965 I become a voter, and I always place my X next to the cup. And what they are doing today, I can't take it. So I have no more vote to give to PPP anymore. I'm not going to vote anymore no more. If they have to lose by one vote, they're losing it by data. I have none.
We're a peaceful people, struggling, we struggle. I mean, I look for trouble, just ask around. But when outside places, from foreign places, talk about taking over, we ain't backing down. So we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river. That belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one for us, not a blade of grass. And we love the open country of the roof and honey. And the Essequibo, the time of night. Don't we be criticizing. This is a home we love it, and we mean to keep it. We have that right. So we ain't giving up no mountain, and we ain't giving up no tree, and we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not no one to sake, not one rice bread, not one for us, not a blade of grass, not one golden apple, not one jamun, not a drop of water from the Pomeroon, not one breadfruit, not one white tea, not one guinea, not one lime tree, not a one sapadilla, not one Caroline, not one sugar cane, or a dry of lime, not one sherriga, not one crackate, not one guinea, not one lusaki, not one rice bread, that is really all yours, not a blade of grass. This land is our land now. We're gonna make it somehow. We will bend like a bow, but never break. Our fathers came here, and they lived and died here, and we're moving from here. Make no mistake. So we ain't giving up the mountain, and we ain't giving up the tree, and we ain't giving up the river that belongs to we. Not the one to sake, not the one rice bread, not one for us, not a blade of grass. Every time we sing this song to our Guyanese audience, a chorus does break out. And here is your chorus to break out. All your turn to sing. You don't come here to sit down and listen, you come here to sing. 1, 2, 1, 2. No, we ain't giving up no mountain, and we ain't giving up. All right. We ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not the one blue sake, not the one rice bread, not one for us. One more time. Not a blade of grass. Let me hear you. No, we ain't giving up no mountain. Yes. No, we ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not the one who sang. Now we ain't giving up no mountain.
Good evening. I just wanted to just play all these songs and just sit back and say absolutely nothing. I don't know how many of you agree with me to just sit back. Let's just spin some music. I'll be a DJ tonight, a political DJ, because, sometimes the political message is through the lyrics as well. Look, I recall this song ever since I was a little boy, over 100+ years ago. A very, very little boy. And this song meant so much to all of us, the pride and the patriotism. It was just instilled through this song, or just one of those things back in the days. But this particular song has been with us and will remain with us for a very, very long time. I'm not sure how many of you know the actual singer, the person who sang this song. If you do, you'll win yourselves. I'm serious, absolutely serious. We're looking for 100 persons to first. Let me just remind you guys that to share the link, please, and to ensure that you click the like button. You have to click the like button, and if you want to get notification and so forth. Look, I haven't even started anything yet. You guys are cheating. I'm sure you guys are related to some of them who work at GCOM right now. I haven't asked you any single thing, guys. Stop the cheating. It's just as though you say on elections day you're going to vote and people started voting right off the bat. Some of you don't behave like the PPP, Don't try to rig this stuff. Don't do it, please. Just do not do it. Now, 100 of you, if you can say who is the person that sang Not a Blade of Grass. 100 winners we're looking for. You win yourselves a virtual trip to Dubai. Free. We are providing every single thing for you. A virtual trip to Dubai. 100 persons. That's how we get it. We try to give back to you in whatever way we can. And we want to ensure that your folks, all of you, are happy for the Christmas. So a trip to Dubai, and by then you guys would be able to join, you know who else there, right? Good. So a free trip for you and your family, virtual trip, pretty fast. So look, let's take this time out, guys, and we've got to everybody singing, everyone singing the song. While you're singing the song, you're all singing the song, and all manner of things you guys have been doing. And we already know, guys, and let's be realistic. We already know that Venezuela is afraid of us, not because of big tanks and water cannons and all these different things, but they're afraid of us because of one thing. One thing, they are afraid of us, guys. Let's not fool ourselves. Right now they're trembling in their boots because of what? This here. This is the weapon of mass musical destruction, mind you. And Maduro and the folks are afraid of this.
Not the one to sake, not the one rice bread. Venezuela, all your ass, not a blade of grass. This land.
1 second, guys. Look, David Hines is going to be with us this evening. Dr. David Hines, that is. Get my act together. Dr. David Hines is going to be with us this evening. But I want you guys to take this moment. It's a special moment for all Guyanese, regardless of where we are. Regardless of where we are. Take this time out to salute and say thank you to Dave Martin. Thank you. Thank you for this song. Thank you for this song that actually brings out that patriotism in us. All of us, regardless of political affiliation, regardless of religion, regardless of whatever, it doesn't matter. This is the song. Dave Martin. We've got to salute Brother Dave Martin. We've got to salute Brother Dave Martin. Now, we have Dr. Dave Hines. Another Dave. Dr. Dave Hines. David Hines. Dr. Hines, good evening, sir. How are you?
I am fine, thanks. Good evening to you. It's been a long time since I've been across here, but here I am.
Yeah, you were in self-exile. You removed yourself from 107.1 FM. You said that's it. You're not dealing with us anymore. But I'm glad that's not true. That's not what you said. But we're glad to have you with us, Dr. David Hines. We have just given away 100 tickets, compliments of Ben Shop Radio. It's just to show that despite the fact that we are being discriminated against as a radio station by a corrupt regime in Guyana, that we are still able to give back something to our people. 100 tickets. 100 tickets for 100 family members. 1 week vacation in Dubai. 1 week vacation. You see, come on, Dr. Hines, don't do us that, man. You see, this is not a comedy. Don't do us that, man. Don't do that to us, please. Don't do that. Are you saying that we can't afford 100 tickets to send people to Dubai?
Are you operating out of the office of the president?
If you answer this question, you win yourself a ticket. And you could take along Kadaki with you too. Take along Kadaki, take along Rhonda Lane, take along the crew with you guys. Who is the singer of this song? Who is this person on the screen right now? And win yourself that ticket.
You're asking me?
Yes, yes, I want to see if you
My,
know
my,
your history and this song and win yourself a ticket.
is it Eddie Hooper?
Oh, Father, don't tell me Dr. Hines attended IFLAT University.
I really want to win this ticket to Dubai, but it looks like Eddie Hooper on the screen there. No, it's not.
You only get one chance. That's it. We'll send you right back. And if you do that again, I'll just tell the people your nickname in Buxton. Everybody, I'll tell them your nickname in Buxton. Good evening to you, Dr. Hines. How are you, sir?
I'm surviving. You know, it's good to be here. It's been a busy day. I started this morning at 7 o'clock Guyana time, Eastern Caribbean time in Antigua. Then I did Kadaki's program, and then I did a program in Washington, D.C. Then I did my own program, and now this is my 5th program for the day. So I am not in Dubai. I am doing Guyana's work.
You know, you just said that you're not in Dubai. You're doing Guyana's work. I wanted to say something that we usually say on the quarantine at Dubai.
Dubai
in Dubai. Dr. David Hines again, good evening. It's 18 minutes after 8 o'clock. And for those of you who are listening to us out in Guyana, it's 18 minutes after 9 o'clock. It's time difference, other parts of the world. But good evening to all of you beautiful people there. And I must apologize on behalf of all Buxtonians for Dr. David Hines not knowing who sang this song. Of course, we know he knows. He knows that it's Terry Gadraj. He knows that.
Sammy Bash.
Yeah. Good evening to Terry Gadraj and all those other guys who usually watch the show. But this is Dave Martin. We'll take another minute and listen to some of Dave Martin, and we'll return with Dr. David Hines for some serious questions here this evening. But again, I just want all of us to salute and say thank you to Dave Martin for this song. I have known this song since I was a little boy, 70-something years ago. Dr. Hines, when you first heard this song, I'm sure you were a youngster as well. How important was this song back then?
Very important. I remember the song in 1982. I'd heard it before, but it did not have the kind of significance until 1982. I learned then that 1982 was the 12-year truce, the end of the 12-year truce that Dr. Eric Williams had worked out with the Venezuelans. It had come to an end in 1982. The Venezuelans refused to renew the pause. We're hearing that term a lot now, to renew the pause, and began to make rumblings on the Guyana border. And this song was all over the airwaves. And it was significant for me because it was the time when the WPA was locked in struggle with the PNC. And one had to make a choice whether you are fighting the PNC or you're standing with Guyana against Venezuela. And in those times, it was quite a decision to make. But we came down on the side of Guyana. So all of us were singing Not a Blade of Grass by Dave Martin. So 1982, and this song stick in my mind a lot. Of course, it's one of a piece of genius on the part of Dave Martin, in the sense that he was able to capture the sentiment of Guyana, and did so in a language that Guyanese could understand. The images, the chorus, the guinea, and he was able to do so. And I don't know if David Martin deliberately did that, but he captured some symbol of all the ethnic groups in Guyana. If ever there is a national song, I would argue that Not a Blade of Grass is indeed a national song, because it was not just a patriotic song, but a patriotic song that captured the ethnic diversity of our country. And that is why I refer to it as a piece of genius.
Absolutely well said, Dr. David Hines. It was actually probably equally as popular as the national anthem back then. And over the years, our national anthem changed. It changed back in those days. Dave Martin had to compete with Yellow Man, with Zungu Zung, and all these different things. But it was always not the blade of grass, and then it moved on up from that to Rum Till I Die, another national anthem that took over Dave Martin, and then Coach Hota here was another one, and then Buju Banton and Jim Scritchy and so forth. Jim Scritchy. I know you don't know Jim Scritchy.
But no, but look, for me, we have always had three national anthems. Dear Land of Guyana, Not a Blade of Grass, and It Burns Inside.
Oh, Johnny Brown. Johnny Brown.
We have always those have always been our three national anthems.
It's Wednesday night. Whenever I got locked up, which was a heck of a lot of times. You and I we never spent time in the.
No, I came just in time to get you and your friend Freddie out from prison once. I landed just as they were letting you all out.
So whenever they would put their handcuffs on me, a song that obviously Jagdeo would put, "Oh, love is a thing, it burns inside." Right? Look, we can have some fun as it pertains to the struggle, but the struggle is very serious under a dictatorship, under a corrupt regime. We still have that corrupt regime here. We'll be right back just after 30 seconds or so, a minute of Dave Martin, the trade winds. We want to just say thank you, Dave. Thank you so much. This is stronger than a weapon, stronger than any weapon. And it's scaring. It's really scaring Venezuela right now. I suppose they can hear this song all the way in Caracas or wherever Maduro goes. It's making them tremble right now. Let's listen a little bit of Trade Winds, Dave Martins.
Belong to me, not one to sake, not one rice bread, not one for us, not a blade of grass, not one golden apple, not one jamun, not a drop of water from the Pomeroon, not one breadfruit, not one white tea, not one guinea, not one lime tree, not one sapodilla, not one Carolina.
Thank you so much, Dave Martins. And so we just took this time out to just salute him and say thank you for that beautiful song. It's going to be with us probably generations upon generations. Just a quick question though before we move on. Do you know what whitey is? Because he said not one whitey.
I don't see that thing anymore. I mean, whitey was one of those rare things, rare fruits. I think we might have had just one or two trees in Buxton. And I was asking the other day, and it's no longer there. But yes, whitey, and it was one of those difficult things to eat.
And it was sweet too, I bet. Let's see how many members of the audience there know and remember what whitey is and so forth. But first question there, we're dealing with Venezuela, patriotism and all these things. But one man, one individual is not as patriotic as majority of Guyanese. This is an individual who wants to give a piece of Venezuela away, and this is going to haunt him for the rest of his life.
You could probably, on the maritime area, give Venezuela a channel out to the sea. So you make a slight concession in the maritime area.
There's a guy who wants to give a slight concession. He wants to give away a piece. He wants to share Guyana with a country that is claiming most of Guyana. How unpatriotic is that, Dr. David Hines?
Very unpatriotic. And it's part of the political culture and political upbringing of Jagdeo, because Jagdeo comes out of a political party that has never pledged unwavering commitment to Guyana beyond a narrow place where you make money. Let's go back to 1951 when Dr. Jagan wrote to the Communist International, the Communist Party of Czechoslovakia, promising to deliver Guyana to the Communist International. All right? We come down to 1958 with the British West Indies Federation, where the PPP under Dr. Jagan refused to take Guyana into the Federation, arguing that Indian Guyanese would be a minority in a West Indian Federation. They refused to take us there. We of course went through the period of the Little Eight, Carifta, and then we came to CARICOM, where Guyana, Trinidad, Barbados, and Jamaica signed that Treaty of Chaguaramas in 1973. The PPP never recognized it. They saw CARICOM, regional integration, as a black boys club. And so the commitment to Guyana as part of a space, as part of a larger community, was never there. Later on, the PPP wanted to form a sub-regional group with Suriname, Trinidad and Tobago, and Guyana. All three of them had an Indian Guyanese government at the time. So there was never really a commitment to Guyana as a civilization. This Guyana was a place where you could make money and all of that something, not something that you could fight for, not something that you will die for. That has never been part of the PPP's praxis. And we were able to unearth a video, a speech that Ravi Dev, who is now the PPP's ideological guru, made in India, in which he invited Indian businessmen to come to Guyana to make money and to take that money back to India to fight against China. He wasn't inviting Indians to come here and to try and join your brothers and sisters and to build Guyana and to make Guyana a great place. Come to Guyana, your brothers and sisters are there, make money. And that ideology on the part of the PPP has always been there. And so therefore, when you see the president on the eve of a referendum that threatens to annex our country, the man is off to Dubai. Off to Dubai. You know, I played those. I see some people who were on my program earlier. I played a clip so-called Captain, the ship is sinking. What should we do? Stay on it? Or should we go down fighting? The captain has abandoned the ship. If the Venezuelans, God forbid, walk over the border tonight, our captain, our commanding chief is in Dubai. And so I'm saying the greater significance of the fact that the president is in Dubai and the vice president is busy calling women lowlives at a time of war shows the lack of commitment on the part of the PPP to this experiment that we call Guyana, this civilization that we call Guyana. Now, there is something called the Guyana belly that all of us feel, you know? Yes, I'm West Indian. Yes, I may be a black man, but I am Guyanese. I am Guyanese. And I'm saying this government doesn't feel that way. What is example is Mr. Irfaan Ali giving to the 200,000 people who voted for him. He's saying, abandon ship. Abandon ship. Go take a vacation. If you can't go to Dubai, go to Suriname, go to Barbados, go to Queens. That's what he's telling them. At a time when the man should be in Guyana, standing with his people, he has abandoned ship and he's gone. And I think that is just consistent with the PPP's view of what Guyana is. It's a place you come to, you make money, and you lord it over people. It is not a civilization for the PPP.
Not a civilization indeed. It is so ironic, and let me just say good evening to some of our new listeners as well. You're listening to Straight Up on 107.1 FM. My name is Mark Benchop. My guest is Dr. David Hines. He is the holder of a real PhD, so we can afford to address him as Dr. Hines.
From Howard University. Not Ifla. I love Ifla. It's a
Yeah.
nice place. I've gone there so many times and so on. And I went back the other day looking for the university. I went to Kashba. I went to the other side of Ifla. Nobody could find the university.
The
Anyhow,
next time I'm in Guyana, trust me, I'll show you where IFLAT University is. Not because it
please.
says IFLAT means it's in the village of IFLAT. I don't know when was the last time you went off the Berbice River Bridge, and as you make that left onto Palmyra, go through number 19 road. Oh no, you got to go the other side heading to New
Yes.
Amsterdam. And just as you cross over that Kanji Bridge, there's a
Yes.
big building on the right.
That's really okay. When I get to Guyana in a couple of weeks, I'm gonna go. Don't lead me down.
No, I know there's a big building. That's where the university is. You're truly not familiar with Berbice, huh? You don't know that big building right off as soon as you exit the bridge, the
No,
Kanji Bridge?
you tell me the models.
I never said that. I said there was a big building.
You see, I am slow, Mark. You know, when I get into the groove of talking seriousness, I really don't pick up the Barbies jokes.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's exactly where. And
I know the mental hospital.
Yeah, psychiatric ward. That's where he graduated. Good evening to all of you guys who are now joining us. Keith Isidan Sr., we saw that mischief there with a question mark, Mr. Good evening to all of you. But Dr. Hines, even as Irfaan Ali and his gang, they left the country, including Irfaan Jagdeo, who suddenly wants to go to Dubai because maybe big millions upon millions of dollars will be discussed there. So he wants to be in the thick of things. But it's the same Irfaan Ali and these guys in this install regime. They're saying to our soldiers, they're saying to the military guys, stay home, stay and fight. None of you will get a chance to go anywhere at this time. But yet he, as the so-called commander-in-chief, jumped on a plane and that's it. He beat out, as the guys would say. He beat out. What's the hypocrisy? Telling our men and women in uniform to stay home, but he is gone.
You know, Mark, that's a deep question, and I'm sure that you have to deal with the doubts that are being raised by people. Many have been contacting me privately. Tonight, I was able to show a lot of comments on the screen while my program was going on of African Guyanese who are raising questions about whether they should stand up and fight for Guyana. And if I were to say, I told you so, or Mark told you so, we told you so, then they're going to say that we are bad mind. But we kept saying over and over and over again that you cannot have an illegitimate regime, first. Secondly, you cannot be treating segments of your population as second and third class citizens and expect that in times of crisis that the society is going to respond in a national way. You are never going to have that. If you are a soldier and you look around and you see them licking down the houses of people who look like you in Moko, they see you look around and you see them shooting people who look like you in their bed in Dartmouth, or setting up a young man who looked like you and shooting him in Golden Grove, spitting on a woman policeman who looked like you. Now, you may not be political and express rage and so on, but at the time when the country's calling you to fight, those things kick into your consciousness. And you're asking yourself, what am I fighting for? What am I fighting for? That is a question, as you know, Mark, as a student of African-American history, know that African-American soldiers had to deal with. They fought in segregated battalions. They came back and they saw the people being lynched and so on. So it is the same question that our people are raising in Guyana. And how does the government respond? Take a couple of house lots. But you're supposed to be giving them house that's long before now. No, you so believe that these people are low life. That to get them to go and fight for the country. Look how slat, man. Look how slat.
You
To
know,
come
this
and fight.
reminds me, this apart from the house lot, Dr. Hines, this reminds me of the objection raised by Cassius Clay, changed his name to Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad Ali refused to go and fight in Vietnam because he said at that time he is not respected as a black man. His fellow
That's right.
African Americans are not respected. Then why should I go and fight?
Yeah. And
You know,
African Guyanese are raising that question mark, not because you are raising it, because they blame people like you and me that we are instigating people and we are revving up black people and so on. And I have to confess that I had no intention of dealing with this issue. People began to call me and to say they went to UG, they went this way, and they went to these forums that they're having on the border thing, and it's all people of one ethnic group. Dr. Hines, what's happening? And right away I realize my worst fears, our worst fears, are being played out. That is, African Guyanese are going to begin to question why should they pick up arms and defend the country that picks up arms against them.
but here one thing that we have to, and this is my position on that. A fight for Guyana, 83,000 square miles, mind you, just a reminder to some of them in the Guyana Police Force, a few of them, that it's 83,000 square miles and not 83. That in being as patriotic as we are and as we should be, is remembering the 400 years
That's right.
of sacrifices made by our African ancestors who were enslaved. 400 years, we must keep that in mind. The economic covetousness of this regime is temporary. It's not going to last long. This can go away in 2025. But the 400 years of free labor, hard work to build that country, we must keep it in mind. That's just
I completely agree with you. Earlier tonight, I said that on my program. I said that if my words mean anything, and I'm repeating it here, if my words mean anything, I'm saying to African Guyanese, don't jump ship. Stay with Guyana, because the blood, the bones of your ancestors are crushed and are in the soil of Guyana. The stench of bodies being beaten and burned and mangled during those 400 years is there in the air that we breathe.
And isn't it ironic that some of them try to dismiss the 400 years of free labor as though it's nothing. It's nothing. The Ravi Devs and them, it's nothing.
Yes.
Get up and accept and just move on. It's nothing. I don't know.
No. And I'm saying to African Guyanese, stay with Guyana, if only because of that. You've turned the wild coast. You have tamed the wilder coast, and you cannot give it up to Venezuela. This piece of land, this space has never been about making money. People made money off your free labor. So it's not about making money, but it's about your navel string, as we say in the villages. Not your navel string, your navel string. It's about that. It's about your navel string. So regardless of whether they're skipping tongue and going away to Dubai, I'm saying to Guyanese, African Guyanese, stay with Guyana one more time. One more time. We don't always get the kind of thanks and gratitude that we deserve for always staying with Guyana. But again, in this hour of need, African Guyanese and all Guyanese, stay with Guyana. We're going to fight the battle for equity and equality. We've always fought that battle. And this battle to beat back Venezuela is part of the battle for equity and justice for all Guyanese.
And those in the install regime suddenly wants everyone to come together to fight Venezuela, and come together we will. But prior to coming together, it is as though the very people that you want to invite to fight now, to have this so-called one Guyana, are the very people that you discriminated against, the very people that you persecuted, just like they're doing to Lowenfield, Mingo, Roxanne Myers. They've done that to Trevor Ben. They've done that to so many people. Forget about your scars. Forget about your pains. Forget about the discrimination. Forget about the fact that thousands of you guys are still waiting with your pink slip in your hands, in your pockets. Forget about the fact that we have bulldozed your homes and destroyed your properties and your businesses in Mocha, in Linden, and other parts of the country. Forget about all those things. And oh man, oh, I come no man. I come labi whole hand no man. For this, we can't allow Venezuela to take away Guyana from Abi. And after all of that is done and sacrifices made again, mainly by our soldiers who are right now brave enough to be at the border there of Venezuela and Guyana. They're right there. Some of them don't sleep, sacrificing, making the ultimate sacrifices and so forth for a country on behalf of a regime that doesn't give a rat's again about them and their people. But like you've said earlier, suddenly they know that the soldiers got to get a piece of land. Suddenly they know that the soldiers, relatives, and family got to get something to eat. So you call them in at State House, as Irfaan Ali, the installed president, has done. Oh, y'all eat something. Give them something to eat. Give them something to eat. And then, guess what? We're going to fast track your house lands. And that's it. Go and fight now. If you survive, you survive. Yeah. But after this is done, guess what? We're back to square one. Discrimination, persecution, and so forth. Do you think people have opened their eyes to see the trickery of these convicts in this installed regime and what they're up to?
I am optimistic that more people are opening their eyes. I think we have some people who just refuse not to see what is going on. And there are some people who are genuinely give them the benefit of the doubt. And I think people in those two categories, I think, are opening their eyes now. And that is why it's so important for us to keep the struggle going. We've taken a lot of blows in the last 3 years. You have heard it, I have heard it. Look, we talk too much. You know, we need to get some action. We need to get boots on the ground. And that's a criticism that we have to live with. We have to live with that criticism. But I think that we have held the line in the last 3.5 years, and we have socialized people to be instinctive when it comes to these moments. And I think more and more people's eyes are open.
More and more their eyes are open indeed. I want to, as the insults continue against mainly persons of African descent, but there are lots of our Indian brothers and sisters in Guyana who are feeling the squeeze, and they're being discriminated against as a result of their political affiliation with either some opposition parties and so forth. So they themselves are feeling the squeeze. In fact, a lot of them are running away, running as far away as they can against the PP or from the PPP. I want to bring something up so that you can take a quick look and get your comment on this here about what Jagdeo said, which I believe it was done recently. What Jagdeo said recently, as we get to, sorry, hopefully our operator can assist. If somebody can wake Lemon up, please, we'd appreciate that. Yeah.
That they're that they're to score political points. Now we have seen again, in spite of the explanations I gave last week, not wanting to make that issue a political issue. about what was offered to Venezuela in the past. This claim that I offered a channel to the Atlantic.
Dr. Hines, before we get to the point, you saw right there, barefaced, lying. He is trying to dismiss it that there was some claim that somebody has made and that it is not true. I want, just for the benefit of our listeners, he has just denied it there. I want our listeners to hear.
You could probably, on the maritime area, give Venezuela a channel out to the sea. So you make a slight concession in the maritime area.
What is going on in the head of this guy? He just denied it, but here it is. What's happening there, Dr. Hines, before we move on to the next point?
Well, it's it's pathological. It's pathological, and it's part of the belief that people will not question what these people say. They feel that they have so much control over the society that they can lie to our faces and it would not make a difference. And what Jagdeo is doing every Thursday there is that he's normalizing a particular kind of conversation. And that is a politically lewd conversation where we've reduced our political conversation to something worse than what we in the old days we used to call standpipe cussing out. Now, standpipe cussing out, you used to learn some things from it because when them lady cussing and so on, they used to use some very fundamental language, if I may call it that. And you learn some fancy words while they're abusing out, and you also get some information of what's happening in the community. But Jagdeo is worse than the standpipe. He's reducing political conversation to a kind of nothingness. And I'm afraid that when this chap is done with our country, a lot of our young people are going to believe that that is the way you carry on political conversation. And that is the danger with what he's doing. He's using the authority of his office to really bring down what we call low-down conversation in the country. And so you're going to find lots of young people, especially those who in his party and those who support party, we believe that that is the way you carry on political conversations. And you see it. You see it with people like Randy Passad. You see it with people like our old friend Freddie Kissoon. They just carry on as if the rest of us are stupid. And we run the risk of that becoming the norm. That is why we've got to push back and put in place an alternative discourse.
Well said. Such a pathological liar indeed, trying to deny that he didn't say that when it's right there. And then he has some of those goons who are on other programs denying that he ever said that. So something is really wrong with these guys. I'm absolutely serious. But this is where he leads into, because he's annoyed. He has been caught with his pants down, so to speak, telling a lie, selling Guyana out, and being unpatriotic. And that led to the cursing out of Member of Parliament Catherine Hughes. Let's go.
Last press conference, we saw where the claim came from. It was under Desmond Hoyt, Mr. Scotland, as part of the good officers process, discussed this. It doesn't undermine our case at the ICJ. It didn't repudiate the 1899 award. But on last Sunday's program with Marvin Williams, he repeated it. That was just Sunday last on Nation Watch. He repeated the claim that I made this offer again. And then...
Now he's saying that Marvin Williams repeated the claim that he made. Come on, guys, members in the audience, what's happening here? What is this? Can't we do better for Guyana? This explains why we are where we are as a country. Listen to this guy denying that he ever said that. But this is him.
You could probably, on the maritime area give Venezuela a channel out to the sea. So you make a slight concession in the maritime area.
I play for you what Cathy Hughes said 2 days ago.
We got to be worried because the vice president himself, and you all see him on the little TikTok clips, the vice president himself was giving Venezuela a channel, he called it.
This is Cathy Hughes. Now, she's a leader of the AFC. They say one thing nationally, and I must say that Mr. Norton stayed away from this when he was interviewed by that Mervyn Williams. He stayed away from all of this nonsense. But he could have easily, because he knew otherwise, to say that's not true.
You could probably, on the maritime area,
And
give
now
Venezuela
Cathy went
a
to the
channel
people in
out to
Linden.
the
She was
sea.
upset because
So
he had a
you-
public meeting and 3 persons turned up. So that is her saying that I promised them again. This is the rumor mongering among people who are willing, because they hate the PPP or maybe me so much, that they're prepared to compromise even.
You know, before we get to the part again to Cathy Hughes, something isn't right with this guy, Dr. Hines. Something, and I want the nation, I want all of our listeners, including non-Guyanese, to hear this man denying that he ever said that. And this is the guy.
You could probably, on the maritime area, give Venezuela a channel out to the sea. So you make a slight concession in the maritime area.
More our border. And from someone, a low life like Cathy Hughes, who.
All right. Right there, it got very personal. Right there and then, he decided, because he's hurt, he's getting very emotional, he has been caught lying. He's been caught committing a treasonous act by wanting to give a piece of Guyana away to Venezuela. Something is wrong with this guy. Touch on the low life part of Cathy Hughes now, sir.
Yes. No. I think it's really a disgraceful piece of political commentary. There are some unwritten rules. I mean, man can cuss man. You know, he has called you a low life. He called Brickford Burke. He called me. He called a whole bunch of we low life, and we can go toe to toe with him and slug back at him. I remember when the other one called me a joker. And when I done with, he will never call another little boy a joker in Guyana. We can go toe to toe with them, but there's some unwritten rules that since we growing up as a little boy, you know, you don't call women certain names. You call a woman a low life. There are a whole set of suggestions in that, and I think this man has crossed the line. I am not a person that is into personality politics. I stay away from Jagdeo. I think Jagdeo is a product of something that is dangerous in Guyana. And he's a product and a victim of it. But, you know, this man has crossed the line. He has crossed the line. And it's not because Cathy Hughes may be a middle-class woman, or she's a woman. Whether she's middle class or lower class or upper class, there are certain boundaries you do not cross. You do not cross if you're a man, and better yet, if you are somebody with power. And so it is reprehensible. And this guy has to be stopped. This guy has to be stopped. As I have said, when that one called me a joker in Buxton, I made up my mind that I am going to stop him. He will never call another black man a joker in Guyana when I was finished with him. And we have to stop these guys. We have to stop them. You know, this is a disgraceful piece of commentary. This is an affront to females, to our mothers, our daughters, you know, and we have to stand up. Especially the men, we have to stand up and say, no more of this. And there is a way to do it.
There is a way to do it indeed. There is a way. 56 minutes after 8 o'clock. Many folks understand why he feels comfortable cussing out Kathy Hughes the way in which he did. And you are correct. It doesn't matter if it's an upper middle class, if it's a middle class black woman, or if it's not a middle class, a working class woman like a Rhonda Lane and like others who are watching our show. It doesn't matter at all. But all of us who know Barra Jagdeo over the years, we understand why he would do such a thing. There's only one particular reason why. And of course, we'll just skip that for now.
You know,
And
Mark, I am so glad you mentioned Rhonda.
I
Because
just
go ahead.
Go ahead.
You go ahead.
No, go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
When they went after Rhonda, I felt compelled, as many of us to do, to defend Rhonda. Because that's what they do. They go after low-hanging fruits first. And when they get through with that, they feel that they can go after others. And Rhonda was vindicated when Ravi Dev said that indeed some of the early indentured laborers came from the slums of Calcutta, but later on they came from other areas. So Rhonda was not wrong, and Ravidev could have come out and say the sister is right. The early indentured laborers did come from the slums of Calcutta. He didn't do that. He allowed them to lynch that woman, a working class woman who has the bravery to go where others, including men, would not go. And they wanted to tear that woman down. I remember what they did to Amanza Walton Desir when she made an innocent statement. And I'm saying to Guyana, we must not allow these things to happen. They start with Amanza, they feel they get through with her, they went to Rhonda, they feel they get through with her, and then now they're gone to Kathy Hughes. We have got to put a stop to this nonsense. This way in which they're treating mainly black women. But you start with black women and you're going to go to women of other ethnic groups. Look at the Indian girl.
They have a history of doing just that. They not only disrespect, they also slaughter them. We saw how women were treated. Some of them were killed. We must remember Donna McKinnon, who was murdered right there in front of Freedom House. We must remember how they hood some members of the police force, particularly the Black Clothes Police back then, the notorious Black Clothes Police that beat women, locked women up, shot women. All of them are African Guyanese women, shot them, pellet bullets. Some of them were killed. Some of them, 2 women, I believe, were killed in front of office of the president. Their bodies dragged into the account section of the office of the president to make it appear that women without any weapons, nothing, barged into a compound like that. I do hope that there is a commission of inquiry one day. So it didn't start just recently. The PPP has a history of doing these things. Dr. David Hines, again, getting back to why Jagdeo treats women the way he does. It's pretty obvious why. I think it was the Mighty Rebel who sang a song. I know the man, we know the man, we all know the man, and we all know why he does what he does and behaves the way in which he behaves. We'll take a quick commercial break and be right back with more of Straight Up on 107.1 FM with my guest, Dr. David Hines.
If you just know you're that girl,
Yeah.
you just have no choice but to be that girl. And I feel like I'm that girl.
Yeah, my name is Jacinty Caldata Francis Vietnam, and since 1965 I become a voter, and I always place my ex next to the cop. And what they are doing today, I can't take it. So I have no more vote to give to PPP anymore. I'm not going to vote anymore no more. If they have to lose by 1 vote, they're losing it by data.
This is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington law firm located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
If you just know you're that girl,
Yeah.
you just have no choice but to be that girl. And I feel like I'm that girl.
And now, hopefully, you guys would understand why he behaves the way he behaves, especially recently toward Cathy Hughes, the Honorable Member of Parliament. What do you think, Dr. Hines, is going through the minds of our GDF men and women, those brave men and women right now, after having been mistreated, ill-treated, disrespected, discriminated against by either Jagdeo or Irfaan and the PPP, but now suddenly they want these guys to go out there and brave the border there in Venezuela and stand up and fight. What do you think might be going through their minds, sir?
I would not be surprised that they're questioning whether they should go out there and fight on behalf of a Guyana that is led by a clique that is obviously discriminating against their own people. I think they're human beings. They live in a society. They observe what's happening in the society. And of course, now when you're asking them to make the ultimate sacrifice, they are going to think, what am I sacrificing for? If they put off that conversation with themselves in the past, because remember when Takuma Ogunse earlier this year raised that question, they charged him. They wanted to charge him for treason for raising a question that is now staring us in our face. We are an ethnically divided and diverse country. And you have to take that into consideration with everything you do. At some point, soldiers are going to become important. At some point. And anybody who was paying attention to Guyana should know that. When you're going about and you're saying, I'm going to give fishermen, I'm going to give rice farmers, I'm going to give so much money to sugar workers. So far, so good. I do not grudge rice farmers and sugar workers and fishermen and women the money that they get. They should get more. But I'm saying when you are doing that, you must also think there are other categories of workers that you are going to need at some point. And here are these workers in uniform because they're workers. Most of them working class, young men and women. And here they are now, you need them. And they look around and they compare the way they've been treated with the way you treat others. And they're bound to say quietly to themselves, let others go and fight for you now. Let others go to the borders. I am sure that is what is going through their minds. And so it is now for you and for me and for others like us to really speak to the hearts and the minds of those young people and to give them hope and to let them see the larger picture. Let them see the larger picture. Let them see that we sacrifice today and we survive today so that we can come back tomorrow and to claim what is rightfully ours. And so, yes, Mark, I do not find fault with soldiers who are questioning whether they should go and fight for Guyana. I do not find fault with them. But like I said, we have to always be showing our people what the larger picture is. Yes, people deal with their concrete circumstances. Those soldiers are poor people. They live in broke-down houses like the rest of Guyana, the rest of working people. They live paycheck to paycheck. They live in situations where their children cannot get the best education. They live in situations where when they look around, they see people like them are being criminalized every day. They have to take instructions to go and to round up their brothers and sisters in Belladrum and number 5 on West Bobis when they should be on the borders. This government is not spending money on giving our soldiers the resources that they need. We are never going to have a big, powerful army with big tanks and all the fancy weaponry. But we should give them enough so that they can feel that they can defend themselves and defend our country at a minimum. What is the military strategy of this government? The military strategy of this government is to capture the leadership of the military and to use the rank and file military to put down internal political dissent. That is their military strategy. When we have a neighbor that is claiming 2/3 of our territory, one would think that your military strategy would be premised on that. But our military strategy is about ensuring that the PPP remains in power. And so here we are with our army and their families unsure about whether they should go there and stand up for Guyana. And I am saying, Mark, Jagdeo and Irfaan and Nandlal and the rest of them are not going to be able to convince those people to be patriots. It will be left to people like you and me and others who have stood with them. Not even sometimes our former leaders, because our former leaders sometimes play the game. And here, when our soldiers look around and they ask themselves, who has been speaking up for us for the last 3 years? They know who have been speaking up for them. And that is why the burden of convincing them that there is more to this issue with Venezuela than their personal and racial hurt. And it is for us. We have that burden now. We, who they call the bad boys, we, who they say want treason in the country, we are the ones who will now have to convince those brothers and sisters to stand firm. The irony of history. You might be muted. You're mute, yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you. 9 minutes after 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 10 minutes after 9 minutes after 10 o'clock in Guyana. Dr. Hines, a provocative question here. An opinion by John Jones. John Jones is saying the opposition is a waste. He is using the opposition for the Venezuelan issue only and shutting them out on other issues. We have seen the opposition being shut out on very important issues, but suddenly they want to sit and be nice to the opposition. We heard Barry Jagdeo say that, what is it that he said that, Mr. Norton didn't touch the subject, bypassed it. What is your take on what John Jones is saying here, that they want to use the opposition for this Venezuelan issue and shut them out on all other important matters?
John Jones is expressing what I'm sure that 99.99% of opposition supporters and potential supporters are expressing. And now is not the time to criticize my brothers and sisters in the official opposition, but I'll say this. You have to make a clear distinction between your support for your country and your people and support for a government. And sometimes when I hear the language coming out from the opposition, some members, we are standing with the government. Stand with which damn government? Stand with the people of Guyana. Stand with the soldiers. Every time I hear that, I say, what are you talking about? The government don't want you to stand with them. Why the hell are you saying you're standing with the government? You stand with the people. And if the government don't want you, come up with your own strategy of defending Guyana. And like I said, I don't want to criticize my brothers and sisters. I put it down to immaturity, political immaturity, and so on. But there is a way in which you fight. And when you have words and you're fighting with words, be very careful. Your duty, your supporters do not want you to stand with the government. They want you to stand with Guyana. They want you to stand with the soldiers. They want you to stand up for the dignity of Guyana. They don't want you to stand with the government because the government doesn't want to stand with you. The government talked to you today about joint action and then call you a lowlife tomorrow.
Hungry belly.
Hungry belly. Why do you want to stand with the government? Cut out that language. If any one of them is listening to me tonight, take this word from me. Cut that nonsensical language out about standing with the government. Your supporters do not want you to stand with the government, and the government don't want you to stand with them. At best, you may stand alongside the government if the government want to defend Guyana. But the leader of the government is in Dubai. He doesn't want to defend Guyana. Who are you standing alongside? Look at them. So, John Jones has a point. And our opposition politicians have to quickly learn, that words are very important. Very important. Very important. And I think they will learn as we go along, but I take my cue from the ordinary people because I think they're not playing games. They're not playing games. And our opposition politicians have to, I make allowance for political games. I mean, I have to be realistic. You have to play some games, I make allowance for that, but on some issues, no games. You are not standing with the government. I heard one of my friends said there is no daylight between the government and us on the Venezuela issue. No daylight? No daylight? There are years between the opposition and the government. The government does not intend to defend Guyana. They have no intention of doing that. Why are you saying there is no daylight between you and them? There's plenty daylight between you and them. The PNC, and let me say, this coming from David Hines, and I'm saying it here, the PNC has a better history of being patriotic and nationalist than the PPP. Let me repeat that. The PNC has a superior record of patriotism and nationalism than the PPP. If I were, this is grading period, it's the end of the semester. If I were to give the PPP a grade, even an F would not fit them in terms of their patriotism to Guyana. When that man is talking about sea lane and all that kind of stuff. No, I am sure that others may have thrown up the idea. Nothing is wrong with somebody throwing out an idea. But here is that man speaking definitively, and he comes from a place. They will sell, what we say, you'll sell your mother-in-law. They will sell our country for anything. Anything. I think if Venezuela were to give them enough, they will sell more than a sea lane to Venezuela. And I think the Venezuelans understand that. And they're playing on that. Vincent Alexander was on my program a couple of weeks ago, and he made the point that when Maduro visited Guyana, he said a decision was made between the two sides on that issue of the sea lane. You
By
must get
Jagdeo. By
Alexander.
Jagdeo. And the
By
PPP. By
Jagdeo.
the PPP. Yeah.
By the PPP. Vincent Alexander said that on my program. I had heard it. But Vincent Alexander, and he has the evidence of it. So we have an unpatriotic government, and the opposition has to distinguish itself from that unpatriotic government. It has to stand with Guyana, so that when the history of this period would be written, it would be clear who stood where and who didn't stand where.
Well said, Dr. David Hines there. Born Buxtonian. He's a professor. He teaches history, African American and Caribbean history. Dr. Hines, oftentimes we hear Barra Jagdeo and these PPP gangsters love to curse the US out. They love to say that the US shouldn't interfere in the politics and so forth in Guyana, and they should mind their own business. But over the past 48 hours, we saw a bunch of American soldiers in Guyana. Lots of African American soldiers are here, ready to defend Guyana, even though there are times Jagdeo and them say they don't want American interference, stay out of our business. But look what's happening there now. How would that Jagdeo explain this to his supporters?
I think those chaps are so crass that they will ignore this. You just chase away some African American people, including women, chase them away. So they get Kokobe. They come from Medellin, Guyana. And here you're welcoming their brothers and sisters in uniform to fight for you. And I think I want this to get into our people's heads. The manipulation, these people think they can manipulate us. You can chase away some black people and say they come to meddle, and then you welcome some because they're going to defend your wealth. Because in defending Guyana's sovereignty, part of what we're defending is the wealth of people, some of those wealth that is ill-gotten. Some of that wealth that is ill-gotten. So African Americans could come here to defend our country, including defending your wealth and defending your regime. But others who just come to ask questions, you chase them away. This is the kind of thing, Mark, that gets me real revved up. Because for too long, they've taken black people for granted. I don't want that to be passed on to little black children, that they feel that they should be taken for granted. Because that's what they're doing. They feel that black people could be... Jagdeo and Irfaan would dare not do that to Indians. They would dare not take Indians for granted the way they take black people for granted. And I want to commend Indian people, Indian Guyanese, for ensuring that they do not take them for granted. Because you saw when they were trying to bully those Indian people to go back to the estate de Rosal, they stood up and they loosed the police on them. A lot of people forget that. The PPP put the police on their own supporters who stood up. And so they know better than to take Indian Guyanese for granted. And I commend Indian Guyanese.
And you would recall over at Wales Estate when Jagdeo, when they were he was president then, or was it Rabatar, when the sugar workers were on strike at Wales Estate, and we were over there, and they also tear gas and they beat and they ill-treated those workers. Most of those workers are of East Indian descent.
Yes.
And so the PPP has a history of ill-treating the working class people as well, regardless of their race. But we see that there seems to be this hatred that the regime has towards mainly persons of African descent. It has got to stop.
Yes,
Somehow.
when you look at somebody like Mrs. Hughes, part of it is her husband. You can't beat him up. You deny him, senior counsel and all kind of thing. You call him all kind of names, or you can't beat him up. But you beat up his wife. And there's a subliminal message that is being sent there that I think as Guyanese, and particularly as Black people, we have got to push back on. Some things, Mark, they don't pass the stick. And so you have got to fight it off. Because when these people are gone, the kind of lawlessness that they're practicing, some of it will stick and become normative if we don't root it out now.
When Nigel Hughes, attorney at law Nigel Hughes, represented one of their goons, Nigel Darmlal, Nigel was worth something then to them.
Yeah.
He was a good guy to them then. But after that is all done and finished with, Nigel is back where he ought to be.
Yes. Yes.
And so no regards for him, no regards for his wife, or nothing, because they have no usage for him at this point in time. It's just another example. Another example.
Yes, yes. And Mark, let me say this,
Sure.
because I know time is coming. Look,
Yeah.
people like Cathy Hughes and Nigel Hughes and others, I am particularly grateful to them because they don't have to do what they do. They're well-off people. They can forget about this struggle and live normal and look on from where they are. And the fact that they've plunged themselves into the struggle after the government lost power, Cathy could have said, well, I've gone back and do my business and forget about the struggle, but she stayed with it. And I think, one has to commend people like that, because not a lot of middle-class people come out of their comfort and stand in the struggle with us. And that is why I have a soft spot for those people, not because I think, they're the best thing since sliced bread, but they're making an equal sacrifice like the rest of us, because they don't have to do it. They don't have to do it. I mean, you and I, we are middle class by books, not by wealth. We don't have any generational wealth. And so we can always slip back. They can always push me back.
Speak for yourself. Speak for yourself. Speak for yourself.
So we are a different middle class. We are a different middle class, But the middle class, like the Cathy Hughes and so on and so forth, they don't have to do what they're doing. And that is why we have to push back against, because what they're doing is that they're trying to break the spirit of those people. They're trying to compromise those people, for those people to leave the struggle and leave poor working class people on their own. That is why they go with such vengeance after those people. And I think we have to call them out for it. We have to call them out for it.
Thank you so much, Dr. David Hines. And I do remember the days, the brutal days, the bloody days, when a lot of people were being slaughtered. They were locked up unjustifiably, all manner of things. And never, whenever I made that call to Nigel Hughes to come out and represent folks pro bono, he is always out there in the struggle. And I thank him for that. I must admit, and I did this to Nigel when he was on, to say that I was a bit disappointed when people were protesting and people were very vociferous about what was happening with Nigel Darmlal, in the sense that people wanted the same sort of justice that others have had, the same set of treatment that others have had, that Nigel Darmlal should not have gotten any special treatment. The system just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. But that's enough said on that issue. I'm sure that my friend Nigel Hughes is seeing that the system doesn't work when it comes to certain segment of or section of the Guyanese populace, mainly persons of African descent. It doesn't work. Hundreds of people are languishing in prisons right now in Guyana because the system is against them, because the police fabricate charges against them, the DPP fabricated charges against them, or through their advice, and all manner of things. The system is not working. Dr. David Hines, before I get to your closing remarks, because we are over time according to Lemon, our operator, Henry Kissinger, former Secretary of State, the man with a deep voice, even under Richard Nixon, President Richard Nixon. He wasn't afraid to speak his mind. He grew up in a concentration camp, I believe, during the Holocaust and so forth. He has gone through the struggle. He has been there. He has traveled the world. He has served under so many presidents. He has passed away right after former First Lady Rosalind Carter passed away. Then just minutes ago, Henry Kissinger is dead at the age of 100. What's your reflection? What do you remember? What is your memory of this guy, Henry Kissinger?
I remember Henry Kissinger as the face of U.S. imperialism, of U.S. force in the 1970s. And later on, when I got into graduate school, I realized that he was a scholar of high repute, and I had to use some of his works in graduate school. So I came to appreciate him as more than just the face of imperialism, but someone who shaped our thinking about politics, global politics, international politics over a period of time. As one gets older, one realizes that one doesn't have to agree with somebody's politics to appreciate their contribution to our understanding of the world in which we live in, or understanding ourselves. And in that regard, Henry Kissinger would go down as one of the persons, for good or ill, who shaped our understanding of global politics at a critical period in world history during the Cold War. Look, there is a guy in Buxton whose his name is Henry Kissinger, right? Here is a young man from a progressive village, getting the nickname Henry Kissinger. And if his people might be listening, they will know who I am talking about. I'm making that point to say that Kissinger's reach went beyond the United States of America. And his passing is really a reminder that men and women helped to shape history. Certainly Henry Kissinger helped to shape the history of our world at a critical point.
Thank you so much, Dr. David Hines. And just if you're wondering why Henry Kissinger is on the screen, he passed away just about 30 minutes or so ago. Henry Kissinger is gone. In your closing remarks, Dr. David Hines, I'd like you to stitch in this. The Inter-American Commission on Human Rights team is currently in Guyana. Jagdeo is out, Irfaan is out, almost all of them are out of the country. But we haven't seen on the schedule of these folks, the Inter-American Commission of Human Rights, to meet with members of the opposition or independent groups at all. What is your take on this as you stitched it into your closing remarks?
Well, look, I mean, it's unfortunate if they're not meeting with the opposition. But look, I welcome all these teams to Guyana. After all, Guyana is the fastest growing economy in the world. Guyana is no longer an unimportant place. And I think we should welcome all groups in the world to come and to see for themselves what's happening in Guyana. If they don't meet with the opposition, then of course their work would be incomplete. But the fact that they are there, I welcome them. I welcome them to Guyana. And I think more of these organizations should come to Guyana because we have a crisis in Guyana. A crisis that brings out the contradictions in our country. The contradiction of a country with tremendous wealth and potential wealth, but a country with tremendous poverty. Poverty, economic poverty, political poverty, human rights poverty, and we are not going to get it right on our own because our Our political actors are not speaking to each other. Our political actors do not, especially the ones who hold the reins of power, do not recognize those who don't own the reins of power. Unfortunately, external forces are going to be pivotal in bringing some sanity to our country. So I welcome the IACHR.
Thank you, Dr. David Hines, for your time. I'm sure that as we prepare for that International Court of Justice, they will be handing down their decision as it pertains to the Venezuelan claim. We are all optimistic that that is going to be in favor of Guyana. But in light of the December 3rd so-called referendum by that guy, that dictator Maduro, it's just a political gimmick. He wants to be reelected. I hope he doesn't. But what is your closing remark as it pertains to calming Guyanese down at this point in time, even as Irfaan and Jagdeo and all those guys just beat out, they're out of the country, they ran away like a bunch of unpatriotic pigeons, just flew away. Your closing remarks, sir.
I just want to say to Guyanese, we've been called upon to stand with our country and to stand with our history and to stand with whatever dignity we have left. And we have a lot of dignity left. And not for the first time, we are being called upon to stand between the disillusionment that is abroad in our country and a brighter day. If there is going to be a brighter day, then that burden is with us, with the ordinary people, with the toilers of Guyana, the sons and the daughters of slaves and indentured, and our indigenous people who must always lead our country. And for those of us like myself and Mark, who you all have thrown up, who you all have invested in, thank God, some of us have decided that we're going to stay by your side. And together, we're going to weather this storm. The Venezuelan issue is a complex issue. It's not going to go away tomorrow. It's not going to go away tomorrow. It's an existential threat that we will have to deal with. But we have the capacity to do it as a people. There are sometimes when your government turns its back on you, as our government has done, because our leaders are away in Dubai, while we face the wrath of Venezuela. We have to govern ourselves. It was C.L.R. James who took Plato's affirmation that every cook can govern and applied it to our Caribbean. Yes, every cook can govern, and now is the time for us to govern ourselves because we are governless. Our governments have abandoned ship and gone, and we have to govern ourselves. We are all we have.
Thank you so much, Dr. David Hines, putting things into perspective there. The installed regime has abandoned the people of Guyana. It shows another example that they're just basically for themselves to fill their pockets, and after they keep filling their pockets, you just hand out crumbs to the people by way of cash grants and all manner of things. And I'm sure when they return from Dubai, if at all, you never know, they may want to stay. But when they return or so, they are going to come up with some sort of cash grant now for the Christmas. That is just their trickery, three-card tricksters. That's who they are. That's what they're about. But Dr. David Hines, I just want to say thank you for all that you do as well. Even though you're an academic middle class, you have admitted to that. You still ensure that you find the time to host your shows. Even when Kadaki goes off to karaoke to have fun, you sat in for Kadaki as well. You were on so many other shows. You just don't give up. I'm not going to ask you where you got the energy from because you would say it's a Buxtonian thing. I will deny that it is a Buxtonian thing because it is just not. But I want to say salute to you for all that you do. And on behalf of so many people who are watching, they would want to say thank you as well. Not all times we agree. There are times when we disagree. But one of the things that we can do, we can say we are fair enough not to cuss each other out, to call each other low lives and all manner of things. Only certain class of people would do something like that. And we know the classification, especially of that particular individual. But Dr. David Hines, thank you so much. And on behalf of all of our listeners, even though you didn't get the answer correctly, we will still give you that prize to go to Dubai virtual.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And thanks, Alvin.
But before we go, also, Dr. Hines did mention the nickname of somebody out in Buxton. They call him Henry Kissinger. Maybe next time I'll tell you what Dr. David Hines' nickname is in Buxton. But before we go, I'll take a minute to again say goodnight to all of you. And for those of you who are from Buxton, let me see if you know what Dr. David Hines' nickname is in Buxton. Somebody's mentioning Mark Phillips. Those guys are a bunch of waste of time. Absolute waste of time. Arlene, Ruben, all of you guys, good evening. Janice, Booker, good evening to you. Karen, Caesar, Gills, good evening to you, Karen, Brenda, and all the crew. I cannot mention all of your names, but thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for, somebody said his name is Pachi. No, it's not Pachi, it's Twilly. Dr. David Hines. I'm out of here. God bless you all and continue to pray for Guyana. As you pray for Guyana, guess what? Jagdeo and his whole crew and Irfaan and all these guys are flying out of Guyana. And when they're flying out of Guyana, they want these guys in the Guyana Defense Force to defend them. And while these guys are defending Guyana, guess what? Jagdeo doesn't care. Irfaan doesn't care. Cost of living gone up. A man is being beaten by thugs of the PPP because of his views. A woman is being called a lowlife by Barrett Jagdeo, of all person, mind you. And you all know why he is envious of women, right? You know.
If you just know you're that girl,
Yeah.
you just have no choice but to be that girl. And I feel like I'm that girl.
Well, of course, not just that you feel that you're that girl. It is what it is. And we've got to go. My name is Mark Benshap, and God bless you all. And let's continue to say thank you to our Guyana Defense Force, brave men and women. Just got to be that girl. And we already know. All right. God bless you all. I'm out of here. And thanks again for tuning in and making us part of your evening. Until then, bye-bye.
We criticize it. This is our home, we love it, and we mean to keep it. We have that right, so we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river. That belongs to we. Not no one to sake, not one rice bread, not one for us, not a blade of grass, not one golden apple, not one jamun, not a drop of water from the farmer road, not one breadfruit, not one white tea, not one guinea, not one lime tree, not a one sapodilla, not one Carolina, not one sugar cane, or a dry of lime, not one sherriga, not one crackate, not one guinea, not one blue sake, not one rice bread. That is really all you ask, not a blade of grass. This land is our land now. We're gonna make it somehow. We will bend like a bow, but never break. Our fathers came here, and they lived and died here, and we're moving from here. Make no mistake. So we ain't giving up the mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up the river that belongs to we. not the one blue sake, not the one rice grain, not one grass, not a blade of grass. Every time we sing this song to our Guyanese audience, a chorus does break out. And here is your chorus to break out. All your turn to sing. You don't come here to sit down and listen, you come here to sing. 1, 2, 1, 2. No, we ain't giving up no mountain. And we ain't giving up. All right. We ain't giving up no river. That belongs to we. Not the one blue sake. Not the one rice grain. Not one for us. One more time. Not a blade of grass. Let me hear you. No, we ain't giving up no mountain. Yes. No, we ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river. That belongs to we. Not the one blue sake. No, we ain't giving up no mountain. No, we ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river. That belongs to we. Not the one blue sake. Not the one rice grain. Not one for us. Not a blade of grass.
Not a blade of grass. We love the open country. The Roman way. And the secret book. This time of night. We made criticizing. This is a home we love. And we need to keep it. We have that right. No, we ain't giving up no money. We ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river. That belongs to me. Not one blue sake. Not one rice grain. Not one for us.
Not a blade of grass.
Not one golden apple. Not one jamu. Not a drop of
4,000.